Okay. It's been a good week. Our guys, since we've arrived here, have been focused. We've tried to keep this as game-like and game week-like as possible. We've had some solid practices, and we're just ready for the game to get here and play and see what happens.
Questions? Take our first one right up here in the front left.
Gus, all those years ago, you're driving your little red car and taking players down a Little Rock to know what it's like to go watch a championship. Did you ever think you'd be here, and did you ever think about that moment?
You always think back at your experiences and the things that helped get you to this point. And, I was very blessed to coach some outstanding players and teams in high school, and had a chance to go to a couple of championship games and win a few. And they're all special in their own right, and a lot of great memories.
Right here in very middle.
Hi, Coach. Chelsea Messenger, WLTZ, Columbus, Georgia. You talk about keeping this game week as close to routine as possible. But what's tomorrow going to be like for you? I know you like to wake up early. What will your game day routine be like?
Yeah, it'll be the same as it has been. I like to get up early. We already have the game plan in, but we'll hit the film room early, me and Coach Lashley and Cody Burns, and we'll just try to go over, make sure we're not missing anything, make sure we're on the same page, try to look at each situation that could possibly come up in the game, and have an answer, make sure we're on the same page, and just be as prepared as we can.
Take our next question right over here in the front left.
James Creppy at Montgomery Advertiser. Gus, why was it so important to you to work with Adam to get Charlie Patrick here, and what will it mean to you? And will you say something to him before the game, to both Charlie, Rob Coleman, Josh Floyd?
Yeah, first of all, Charlie Patrick was the athletic director that gave me my first job. I learned a lot from him. And when you get to this point, you always think back at the people that helped you get here. And I'm very blessed with Rob Coleman and all the coaches in the high school that helped me get to a spot to be able to coach college. And just like to thank all the college coaches that also helped. So I'm a real blessed guy, and I'm not up here, on my own.
Go over here to Kurt.
Kurt Bowles from the Austin American. Gus, as far as trick plays go, you have like a top 100, and how many do you put in for a game of this magnitude?
Well, a lot of people say we run trick plays, but, from our player standpoint, we call them special plays because we actually work on them, and we have certain situations we like to run them. And it's just all a matter of putting pressure on the defense, and really the bottom line is scoring points, no matter how you do that. Each game is very unique. This one also is, and we'll always carry some things that, that we feel like will have a high chance of being successful if given the right situation.
We're going to come right down here to Rick.
Greg Logan of Newsday. Gus, what is it about your running attack that gets people moving in a way that you can gash them the way you do? One of the players at Florida State talked about smoke and mirrors, and the deception that's involved. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, first of all, to have a successful run game, you have to be good up front. And our offensive line has gotten better each game. They've been very physical. They've worked together. And at the same time, coaching is about trying to keep people off balance and try to keep them guessing, try to make their keys lie to them, and just keep them off balance. And I think that's what all coaches, are trying to do.
Over here in the left in the middle.
Hi, Coach. Rachel Bachman, Wall Street Journal. I read that after you were hired, you told players that Auburn was going to have the biggest turnaround in college football. I'm wondering, is that true? And if so, are even you surprised at what's happened since then?
Well, that was one of our goals. We felt like we had some talent. I was there before, so I was familiar with a lot of the guys. And we just told our guys that, hey, we're not going to think about or worry about what happened last year. We're going to put everything behind us. Everybody's going to get a fresh start. We told our coaches, don't watch any game film from last year and get any preconceived ideas. We just want everybody to have a fresh start and move forward.
Come back over here to Greg.
Greg Logan, Newsday. Gus, obviously Florida State hasn't really been pushed by anybody this year. Your defense has given up at least 35 4 times. What do you see that you have to do defensively to rattle Jameis Winston, get him out of his rhythm? How do you expect to do that?
Well, I think the bottom line is you've got to keep them off balance, and that's a huge challenge. They've been machine-like on offense. They run it well. They throw it well. They got NFL wide receivers that put people in one-on-one situations. So, Coach Ellis Johnson's one of the best in the business. He's been in big games before. He's got a very good plan, and we'll just have to do our best to try to keep him off balance.
Come over here, Dave.
Gus, hi, David Moore, USA Today. This is your first time being a head coach at this stage, and there's a little bit of a this is your life kind of feel to this situation, and just wonder what you're feeling emotionally now and how you think you'll manage things tomorrow night.
Well, all year we've taken the approach just to take it one game at a time and not let our mind go any farther than that, and that's been my approach personally. I'm trying my best to enjoy the moment, but the bottom line is we got a job to do. And as a coach, your responsibility is to have your team prepared as possible and to stay in that routine. And in this setting, this week, obviously that's a challenge. But, our team and our coaches have done that all year. And I feel so far up to this point, as a group, we've done that.
All the way in the back row back here.
Sean Shabby, Campus Insider. You guys aren't one-dimensional as good as you are with the run, but if you are playing from behind tomorrow night at any point, are you so good at the run that you can still attack and catch up in a game using the run?
Every game is different the way it unfolds. We do feel good about our passing game, even though we've not passed the football a lot, probably the second half of the year because we hadn't had to. But, we do have a lot of confidence in Nick Marshall to throw it, and we feel like we've got some receivers that have gotten better. So it just matters on how the game unfolds.
Right up here in the front, Jamie.
Coach, Danny Morales of Skyboat.com. Nick has played very well since that LSU game. He's limited his mistakes, only thrown 1 interception. Talk a little bit about how he's bounced back from that one loss you guys had and how that's helped the team as a whole.
First of all, Nick Marshall didn't go through spring. You usually learn a lot about your quarterback in the spring with the different scenarios, and we were actually learning about his strengths as we were playing on Saturdays. And, we started out trying to be balanced and throwing the football, and then after that LSU game, we had an off week. And we were able to sit back and just really evaluate his strengths and really our overall offensive strengths and tried not to do things that we weren't real strong at. And that's kind of defined who we were moving forward, and I think that really helped.
Over here, Mike.
Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. Gus, Art Browse at the Fiesta Bowl was talking about how he coached high school for a lot of years. You coached high school for a lot of years. Chad Morris, the offensive coordinator at Clemson, high school background. How many high school coaches out there do you think are out there that could make a jump to college and be really good college coaches?
There's some great high school coaches out there that, just given the opportunity, could be doing the exact same thing I'm doing here. I'm just one of the few that were blessed to get an opportunity to coach in college. Because the thing about football, the X's and O's and dealing with players, they're exactly the same in high school as they are at college. The biggest difference is just dealing with the recruiting part, the media part, and the boosters. But some of these big high schools, also have some of that.
Right over here in the front left.
James Krabby, Montgomery Advertiser. Gus, just what exactly was that first job as the rag man, and where was it and how did you get it exactly?
My first job was actually a Centos, a uniform company. I was waiting. I graduated December, so I was waiting on a job, and at the time, I was just happy to have a job and looking forward to coaching, and it was a very good experience for me.
Back over here on the left.
Coach, J.P. Peterson, 790 The Zone, Atlanta. Talking with some of your players yesterday, some of them called you quirky. They said that you sometimes make up words to motivate them. Tell me about your special relationship that you have with these players and how it manifests itself into winning games and this great turnaround.
Well, first of all, even when I was a high school coach, I think it's extremely important that you develop relationships with your players. And I think it's very important that your players know that you care about them more than what they can do on the football field. And I think even more can be said for coaching college, because you've got to win, the pressures to win and everything that goes with that. And I'm just very fortunate that we've got some great players. We're an extremely close group. Our coaches have done a great job developing that trust and that relationship with our players. And I think that's one of the key to turning this thing around, going from 3 wins to coming up here in 1 year.
We're here in the front.
Brian MarcellaAL.com. Gus, when you're on the field tomorrow, landmarking, benchmarking, will you take a moment to just take in the scene, or will you be completely focused on everything?
I think when you first go out there on the field, you get, the environment around you, and you're able to reflect a little bit. And then when you go back out there for real, you've got to flip the switch and get your mind on your business and don't let anything distract you.
Right here on the aisle.
Bonnie Bernstein, Campus Insiders. Gus, I was reading an article about your wife, and she spoke about how she's tried to encourage you to be more positive, show that different side to your players, and she'd actually mentioned that Cam Newton had come to her at one point and said, "I don't really think Coach likes me." Can you talk about the influence that she's had on you and how that's helped improve your relationship with your players?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Chrissy's a big part of my coaching career, and wouldn't be here without her. And we do this thing together. And she is my accountability, because I'm a one-track focused mind, and sometimes I need her to, because that situation you're talking about, that was before the first game, and I was extremely hard on Cam, and I would push him, and she just noticed that, hey, you need to make sure he knows you care about him. And so that night before the game, I let him know I'm a real person and that I care about him, and that helped our relationship moving forward.
Come back down here, middle.
Greg Logan of Newsday. Jimbo was asked earlier about, what it would be like a year from now if this were a semifinal game and there was still one more to come. Can you describe how different it will be a year from now?
I really don't think about tomorrow, much less a year from now. But, you just try to keep it as game-like as possible. I think you stay in a routine, and, you just take it week by week.
Come over here to Ivan.
Ivan Mazel, ESPN.com. Gus, you speak with such reverence about high school football and coaches and your background. When you decided to make the leap to college ball, why did you do it, and were you at all reluctant to do it?
Well, I was very blessed. I was at 3 different high schools for 5 years, and as a goal setter, you set goals. And in 2005, we won the state championship. We were one of the top teams in the country, and we'd reached all our goals. And our school was actually splitting, and so it was a kind of a transition period at that time. And then I got the opportunity to go to the University of Arkansas, and so it was a really easy transition time as far as that's concerned. And I was given a great opportunity to go straight to the SEC and be a coordinator, and so the timing was very good.
Come back here on the right.
Hey, Coach Moko at Alabama News Network in Montgomery, Alabama. You coached Cam Newton a couple of years ago, a guy who won a Heisman Trophy and the team won the national championship. Now you're facing Jameis Winston, a guy in a similar situation. Can you compare Cam Newton to Jameis Winston for what you've seen in the preparation?
Well, Jameis is an outstanding player. I actually recruited him myself and know him personally. You could tell when in high school he was a special player. And, what he's done this year has been amazing. And, anytime you win the Heisman Trophy, there's a lot of good things that happen.
Over here on the right.
Brady Ackerman, CSS. Coach, how do you find the rhythm offensively that you had at the end of the season after the layoff? And does the experience of being the offensive coordinator a couple of years ago, do you draw on that to try to find that rhythm?
You know, I think that's the big challenge. You know, you're playing really good football, and then you have a 30-day layoff, and there's a lot of challenges that go with that. And we saw some of that in 2010. And so, you know, hopefully I can use that experience to get us off to a faster start. You know, when the defense coordinator has 30 days to break everything down, there's a lot of things that go with that, and you just got to predict on the adjustments and what they're going to take away. And there's a feeling out period when you have a 30-day layoff, you know, that is a little bit, you know, not normal. And so there'll be a feeling out period, I'm sure, on both sides. And after the first quarter, things will probably settle down.
Come over here to Ralph.
Ralph Russo, AP. Gus, talking about your transition from high school to the SEC, were there any moments that you remember that recall where you thought, this is a little tougher than I bargained for? And on the flip side, was there a moment or a particular setting where you thought, no, I can do this, I'm ready for this?
You know, I think anytime you go into a new situation, you know, there's questions. You know, you just try to work as hard as you possibly can. And you know, but there wasn't any situation I felt like that, you know, that was uncomfortable or anything like that. But anytime you have a new situation, you know, until you do it, you know, you really don't know.
Come back up here, Danny.
Danny Morales, skyboat.com again. With Jameis being from Alabama, do you have a little bit better of a book on him than some other teams that may have played him had?
You know, like I said, I got a chance to recruit him, and you know, I know his family. You know, he's a very talented player, but you know, really the bottom line is, as a coach, you go by that year, and what you see on film. And like I said, he's found a lot of different ways to beat people.
Come right back up here in front.
Brandon Marcello, AL.com. Gus, when's the last time you called a defensive play?
The last time I called a defensive play, I've given advice, but it's been a while.
What's that like with Ellis? And he says that you really kind of sit down there and watch games with them, go over things. What kind of feedback do you give them?
Well, I think anytime you have a veteran coach, you know, we share ideas, what he sees from a defensive coordinator standpoint, what I see as from an offensive standpoint, and you put your heads together. And you know, Ellis is one of the best in the business. I have a lot of confidence in him. He is very good at in-game adjustments, and you know, he's a veteran guy. He doesn't get too high or too low, and that's been very good for our defense.
Have time for a couple more. Heather.
Heather Dinich with ESPN.com. And Jimbo said he's got so many notes and scouting reports on you guys, he feels like he'd have to play you 5 times in order to actually use it all. And I was wondering if there's any sense of information overload on your staff as far as just how much time you've had to gather and prepare stuff on Florida State.
Yeah, I think anytime you have 30 days, you're going to have all the information and then some. And as a coach, you just got to filter all that and you know, predict the best you can on what they're going to do offensively, defensively, and special teams. And then I think it's very important that you self-scout yourself. And so we've tried to do a great job of that, even like we're our own opponent, just to see what they're seeing. Then you match everything up. And the bottom line is, like I said, the first quarter is a feeling out time, and after that, things usually settle down, and you know, you can actually get in a rhythm.
Any last questions? Take these last 2 right here.
Coach, I know you've been asked a lot about your high school days. How much do you think you having that experience of high school kids has helped you with these young men as opposed to some of the guys who come from the NFL and are used to dealing with older men?
Yeah, I think it's the relationships. There's no doubt. In high school, kids aren't much different than college kids. It's all about relationships and that bond, and I know that's given me an advantage.
Last question.
Coach Michael Brandon, Fox 10 News in Mobile, Alabama. At what point when you came back to Auburn did you think you were going to be able to turn this program around, and how successfully did you think you were going to be able to do it?
Well, Auburn's a great program and used to winning championships, and so I knew that we were going to get it turned around. I didn't know how quick. There was a lot of questions when we first got there. We did a lot of doctor filling early, and you know, our guys came together, and they believed. I got to give a lot of credit to our seniors. They kept our team together, and this is truly a team. We're not a group of individuals, and each week somebody different stepped up, and they just been a joy to coach.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.